Camille Holland was born on the 8th of April 1840 in West Bengal, India, the daughter of William Holland, a bookkeeper, and Maria, a housewife. By the time Camille was 10, the family had moved to London, where Camille remained for many years and worked as a music teacher. Camille was an independent woman who had never married or had children. She was known to be frugal, often preferring to mend her clothes and buy new. She would invest much of what she saved in stocks and shares, which over time made her very wealthy. It's 1898 and Camille is living in Elgin Crescent, London, when she decides to advertise for a potential husband. Samuel Herbert Dougal, a former clerk with the Royal Engineers, makes her acquaintance. Having started a relationship with Camille, though still legally married to his wife Sarah, the couple were soon in negotiations to purchase Coldham's, a large remote farmhouse in Clavering, Essex. Camille was to finance the deal and insisted her name appear on the contract. Portraying themselves as Mr. and Mrs. Dougal, they found lodgings with a Mrs. Whiskin in Market Place, Saffron Walden, whilst Coldham's was being renovated. On the 24th of April 1899, Camille, Samuel and Camille's dog Jacko moved into the property that they had renamed Moat Farm. On the 13th of May, they were joined by their newly appointed maid, Florence. Florence had barely set foot inside the farmhouse when she discovered that she was the subject of Samuel's attentions. On the 14th of May, Samuel made inappropriate advances to her in the kitchen, and on the night of the 16th, he tried to enter her room. Florence resisted his advances on both occasions. In the latter instance, she held her door shut and screamed to alert Camille. Camille arrived on the scene, sent Samuel off to bed, and she and Florence slept in the same room for the rest of that night. On the night of the 19th of May, Florence found herself alone in the house with Samuel. Earlier that evening at 6:30, Samuel and Camille had gone out in the Pony and Trap. At 8:30, Samuel returned and told Florence that Camille had gone to London and would return later that night. For the rest of the evening, Samuel was in and out of the house. He finally returned at 12:45 a.m. and informed Florence that Camille had not returned and that she had better go to bed. When Florence came down to start her chores at 7 a.m. the next morning, she was surprised to find Samuel already up, dressed and eating breakfast. He told her that he had received a letter from Camille in which she had said that she had gone on holiday. This was of little consequence to Florence, who had already arranged for her mother to collect her in the morning and take her away from Moat Farm. Her mother arrived promptly, Florence collected her wages and left. Camille never returned to Moat Farm. A few months passed when Jacko, Camille's dog, turned up at the home of Mrs. Whiskin, the landlady that Camille had lodged with prior to moving into Moat Farm. Mrs. Whiskin had been surprised and hurt that Camille had not said goodbye to her. So she wrote to Moat Farm, whereupon Samuel eventually collected the dog. He avoided questions on the whereabouts of Camille. Over the next 4 years, Samuel continued to live at the farm and enjoyed a number of liaisons with different women in the village. He became part of the local community, attending church regularly and giving generously to local causes such as the enlargement of the churchyard and the interior redecoration of the church. People began to wonder how Samuel, who had no visible means of support, could afford to be so generous. The answer came on March 1903, when he was charged with forging a cheque for £28. During his trial, which began in the spring of 1903, the prosecution produced evidence that showed that Samuel had systematically moved money from Camille's account into his own, sold her stocks and shares, and even transferred the title of Moat Farm from her name to his. On the 19th of March 1903, the police took possession of Moat Farm to see if they could find any clues about Camille's disappearance. After a week of searching the house and grounds, they found the body of a woman. The corpse was badly decayed, but enough of the clothing remained for Camille's shoes to be identified by her shoemaker. Camille had been shot at close range in the back of the head. On the 22nd of June 1903, Samuel Dougal was charged with feloniously, wilfully and with malice murdering Camille Holland at Clavering. Dougal pleaded his innocence, saying that it had been a dreadful accident and blamed the excesses of too much brandy. The jury took less than an hour to return their verdict of guilty, where the judge sentenced Dougal to execution by hanging. At 8 a.m. on the 14th of July 1903, Dougal was hanged and buried in an unmarked grave in the confines of Chelmsford Prison. Camille was buried on the 13th of May 1903 at Saffron Walden Cemetery. The inscription on her memorial reads, "In sympathetic memory of Camille Cecile Holland of Maida Vale, London, who died at Clavering under distressing circumstances on the 19th of May 1899, aged 56 years. Camille's estate of £7,232 was left to her nephew Edmund George Holland. Moat Farm is still in private ownership and has been extensively renovated and renamed. Camille's shoes, taxidermied dog Jacko, and a pane of glass inscribed by Dougal reside at the Essex Police Museum in Chelmsford." If you find cemeteries as interesting as we do and enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to make sure you're notified of our next upload.